Welcome back. Doing something fun today. I got two trees here, a Dapple Dandy Pluot and a Flavor Punch Pluerry. Both are bare root. One of them I actually potted up last year, so it's had a little bit of time to get acquainted with the area. And we're gonna go ahead and plant both of them 18 inches apart in a multi-plant style planting, and gonna talk about a couple things like what to think about when you're planting a bare root tree, how to get it ready for success, and how to get it off to a great life, which I guess is the same thing. So why don't we just get going and get these things in the ground. But first, let's start with some definitions. This right here is a bare root tree. You'll notice there's no dirt on these roots. The trees are grown in the ground, they're dug up, and they are sent to nurseries this way. The nurseries then pot them up and sell them to you for 2 to 3 times as much money. They're not bad people. They just run a business, and these trees do have to go somewhere fast after you get them. So you can either plant them in the ground or pot them up. Nurseries that sell bare root trees will keep them usually insulated in some type of shavings that are moistened just so those roots don't dry out. This right here is actually a bare root tree that I potted up last year. This is a Flavor Punch Pluerry, a Dave Wilson variety, and I just potted it up with a mixture of peat moss, sand, perlite, and a little bit of cocoa coir. Before I plant this in the ground, I do want to get a lot of this mixture out. I just want to make sure that this tree grows mostly into the native soil, and peat moss is pretty resistant to rotting, but if you bury it super deep and over time water in and all the clay particles get in there and everything, you know, I'm a little skeptical as how that might go. So that's why we loosen these up, and I recommend if you have a potted plant, you do that as well. You could see me right there measuring the area, measuring some distances from the edge of the wall, the fence, just trying to get an idea of where these trees should go, and knowing that, you know, initially I did want these to be 18 inches apart. In the end, I made the executive decision to make it 24 inches apart, just because I felt like I didn't want these roots to be competing immediately, especially because even though these are 2 plum varieties, the root stock on these are actually different. So I'm not too concerned about it, but I just wanted to give them a little bit of extra space, knowing that they're still going to benefit from this multi-plant scenario where we're going to get that cross-pollination and these big yields of delicious, juicy fruit. All right, we got our hole dug, got our bare root tree right here, got some rubbing alcohol, got alarms going off, and I just want to do one last check on the roots, see if there's anything that needs to be pruned. So just gonna sterilize these pruning shears. Sometimes it's really, really obvious, other times it's not. So just kind of want to take a little look, see if anything is broken. When you look at this, the real root flare should be down here, and I don't want to end up with any girdling roots. So I am going to isolate these upper roots right here and give them a cut. I'll give that guy, those guys, this one is broken anyway, and it's really good to get as close as possible. You just make sure you've got the tight side to the inside. Be careful not to cut off any of the roots that you want. Make sure they don't go in the hole either. You don't want any dead roots of the same plant in the same hole. All right, so we've got our graft joint here. I always like to make sure that these are facing to the north so they don't get baked by the sun. Here we go. This is kind of convenient. It's got this hard, really thick root right there, and that's just kind of going straight into the hole and kind of propping it up. And now the next thing you want to do is get these down, all these roots down, so that you keep your root flare here. You don't have a bunch of roots coming up around, you know, that could circle the trunk and kill it. So I'm gonna go ahead, cut the hole wider so I could get some of these roots splayed out. All right, this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to get some of this dirt, pack this down and in. See if we can get that to just hold it. This may look a little frustrating, a little bit annoying, but what you're looking at is actually my favorite reason for purchasing a bare root tree, and that's that you can choose and place where your roots go. And that is so good for the long-term benefit of the tree. A lot of people go to the nursery, they think, I want the biggest tree I can get. And oftentimes those trees are big because they've been sitting in those pots for so long at the nursery that they've overgrown their pots. The roots are circling around and around in a circle. And because time is money, these nurseries plant the trees way too deep, and those circling roots end up choking out the trunk of your tree, aka a girdling root. And that is going to be a huge bummer for you a couple years down the line when you start noticing the decline of your tree. I actually have a video on girdling roots. It's pretty in-depth. Definitely give that a look if you're interested in the subject. Now it's time to fill it back in with dirt, throwing a little extra here, knowing these are going to settle, pulling up a little bit, letting some of that dirt get in there, but we are going to water all that dirt in and it'll settle, so definitely throw a little extra on there. This is the Flavor Punch Pluerry, the potted one. These roots are well contained. None of them are circling. That helps a ton. And just setting those roots right and then filling in the area. And they look good. You have one last chance here and actually one more chance later to see how they're leaning, whether they're upright or not. But we'll check in on that again in a second. And for now, we're going to prune. Always start by pruning dead, damaged, or diseased. We got a damaged branch here. Bye-bye, little branch. That's an even worse damaged branch right there. So get rid of that. I left one little special node right there on the end in case I want to grow a new branch out of that. But yeah, just generally cleaning up the tree at first. Then it's time for making a little bit more serious decisions about the shape of your tree, the health of your tree, and so on. Here I've got two intersecting branches, and I'm trying to decide which one to get rid of. So I'm thinking about which one of these is the right height. Is either of them damaged more than the other? And how do I want the shape of the tree to be in the end? This one's got a lot of damage, so I think this is going to be the one I get rid of, which is unfortunate because I like it a little better, but it's still going. This one that's left is still going far enough away from this that should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this guy. Definitely don't want a big central leader, so I'm going to get rid of this too. Boy, this video sure is getting long, so I'm going to speed this up here. When it comes to multi-planting, usually you're going to want to stop them from interfering. They're planted right next to each other. You don't want their branches rubbing up against each other, so you prune between the two. But these trees are still small enough that this isn't really much of a problem, and there's plenty of room here. Just going to go ahead and flood this thing out with water, give it a nice deep watering, let it all settle in. And these multi-plants are looking like they're pretty good to go. These trees are in a great location. This is actually on top of a retaining wall that I built this year. Definitely going to be making a video on that coming up. This was a massive project, a part of a huge landscape overhaul that I've done, and really proud of it. If you're excited to see stuff like that, hit the subscribe button. Helps me out, you know, keeps me motivated to make things for you guys, especially since I'm pretty busy at this stage in my life. and we got a new little baby coming our way in about a month here, so it's coming up fast. And yeah, want to keep doing this, but give me a little smash on that subscribe, and give that little bit of extra motivation for me. All right, so here you're looking at watering it in. I'm trying to collapse some of the dirt just by, keeping that water pressure steady in an area. You'll notice the dirt going down and settling over the roots, and that's exactly what we want. Want to make sure that we fill all the air gaps and stuff that might have been left through the planting process, and yeah, just get these things nice and watered in, and off to start a new great life. You also have one last shot to make sure that these are stationed in the way you want. I like mine just a little bit offset, a little bit leaning away from each other. This is a little bit personal preference though, as you can always keep them separated by trimming them up. So do as you wish. And finally, the last step that I didn't actually film, but is still really important, is you are going to want to cover the area around your trees with some kind of a natural mulch, even a compost or something. Don't pile it up super high around the roots, but definitely 2 inches within the planting area. So anyway, get out there, plant some trees, enjoy some fruit, and subscribe to the channel for more fun stuff like this. And if you see anything I could do better, feel free to drop a comment and let me know. Always trying to learn and get better. All right, bye-bye.